This week for Movie Club, the pick was The Frog Prince, which came out in 1971. It was one of Jim Henson's earlier projects. This was actually kind of before The Muppet Show or any of the Muppet movies, and you can kind of see that. The premise for this film is the old fairy tale of the Frog Prince, in which a prince gets turned into a frog and then has to get a princess to kiss him in order to be turned back into a prince. And they made some changes in this version from the original story. For instance, that the princess was actually a little more bratty in the original version. She tried to renege on her promise to take the frog with her after he retrieved the ball from the well. But in this version, that's not the case. Both characters are actually more sympathetic. And they included the piece about the princess being under an enchantment as well, which was interesting, but I think it kind of evens out the story. I'm not going to say a whole lot about the technical aspects of this film. I mean, one, it is very much kind of a Muppets, Sesame Street kind of feel to it. And considering the time frame of when Jim Henson made this, it's understandable. You get to see some of the stuff he's hadn't quite perfected yet, but was going to come on really good later, i.e. the full body puppets or the marionette style, like what they do with the jumping frogs. The one technical aspect I'd really like to note was the fact that there are those scenes where it was either Kermit or Robin, but they were in the well, actually in the water, and you can see them in the water. And you got to remember, there's still a puppeteer underneath there having to do all that. Overall, with the tone, you could see it was directed straight at kids. It was very lighthearted, very cotton candy-ish, but still very entertaining. And you could tell that with just the fact that it was very two-dimensional. I mean, the good guys were good and the bad guys were bad. There were some funny moments, nothing too extraneous or creepy. And again, just very much that this is the way the Muppets do things. As a movie fan, I can suspend my disbelief as much as the next guy. But there was one thing about this film that really kind of took me out of it, and it wasn't the talking frogs, and it wasn't the people bursting in the song for no apparent reason. It was the princess's curse of all things. The fact that nobody could understand her when it's just really a dumbed-down version of Pig Latin that she's speaking. It's just the fact that they're switching out the first letter in a couple of words in her sentences, and suddenly nobody can understand her. And it just, you know, it's goofy to me. It's kind of silly. Yeah, I know it's directed at kids, but you could at least made it a little more jumbled up so it made sense that nobody could understand her. But that might just be nitpicking too much of detail for what's a kid's movie. I suppose that's exactly what this is supposed to be. It's just this very lighthearted, easygoing kids movie. You know, the songs are cute, the jokes are funny. My particular favorite running gag is when Featherstone Essential is giving the audience cues as to what they should be doing when the king's speaking. I was laughing out loud when I saw that. Of course, a lot of the Grimm's Brothers stories were a little more darker in tone because they were being used as morality plays. You know, you teach kids how to behave and what happens if they misbehave. And this is not one of those. This is just, you know, the good guys win. So if you like your fairy stories a little darker, and you like Jim Henson when he's being a little darker, i.e. Labyrinth or Dark Crystal, then I would suggest checking out Jim Henson's The Storyteller. These were about 9 shorts he did several years ago. Again, all fairy tales and folk stories, but a little darker in nature, a little more grown up, still good for kids, but just a little more mature. Some of my favorites are The Soldier in Death, Hans the Hedgehog, and Fear Not. So I'd check those out when you got the time. They're really good. So that's my review for today. Pretty short and sweet, but overall I recommend giving this one a look, particularly if you're a Jim Henson fan. And go ahead and see what everybody else on Movie Club Strikes Back had to say about this film and other films. And until next time, keep doing what you do.